couple days ago, we were given the announcement from the Carolina Panthers that they decided to bench former first overall pick Bryce Young in favor for Andy Dalton in Week 3 matchup between the Las Vegas Raiders. And this was, for me, maybe for many others, was surprising. And I get for the other side, the other camp, people that were happy or not surprised because of the bad performance he's had thus far in his career, especially this year in the first 2 weeks. I still believe that the right option is to start Bryce Young. So I'm gonna quickly read, just a couple paragraphs off of this Sports Illustrated article about it. Just kind of reiterating, it said the Carolina Panthers have decided to bench second-year quarterback and former number 1 overall pick Bryce Young ahead of Week 3 matchup with the Las Vegas Raiders, and Young's unsurprisingly not very happy with the move. Let's see, Young, who will now be the backup of journeyman Andy Dalton, is an effective end to his tenure with the Panthers and is, quote, pissed, according to the report from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. Fowler noted that the locker room is still invested in first-year coach Dave Cannells and believes Dalton is the right player to lead this offense and attempt to try and save the season. Scroll a little bit further down. It says, regardless, Young was done no favors in Carolina with the offensive line and the lack of the position talent, so the Panthers aren't totally blameless in Young's lack of production as a quarterback thus far. Whether it's in Carolina or elsewhere, Young will try and continue to develop as he waits for his next opportunity. And I do agree with that. I mean, you quickly go to Pro Football Focus and look at their gradings and his stats. It's horrible, without a doubt. In Week 2 against the Chargers, he had a 38.3 rating from Pro Football Focus, and it was even worse in Week 1 against the Saints, 32.6. And the overall grade for 2 games is 30.1, a huge drop-off from his rookie year at 56. And his stats for the first 2 games, 55.4 completion percentage, 245 yards, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and especially the abysmal Week 2 with only 84 passing yards on 26 attempts. Even before that, too, the completions were good. Week 1 was horrendous, 43.3% completion percentage, 161 on 30 attempts. Again, it's just not good enough. And I want to state this before going into a rant about it. There is certainly blame for Bryce Young. I don't want to say he's above all this. It's not, there is no fault for him. There is. He needs to play better, regardless of the situation. He needs to play better. Week 2, he had wide receivers open. You just gotta find them. You gotta see those players. You gotta hit them with the ball. There's times he's just scrambling around, trying to run around, run from defenders, and it's just not working. He's kind of playing at times how it was in college. And maybe that's how a lot of quarterbacks do. They try and scramble, try and dodge players, and yeah, maybe that works in college football when you're at certain times you're facing 1 or 2 star recruits, but in NFL everyone's a 5-star recruit, regardless of how you feel about their talent level at this point. Everyone's basically a 5-star recruit, so you can't do that to anybody. And certainly it's showing that, no doubt, early on in his career. But with that being said, this is Carolina's fault, why this is not working. This is a owner. You could arguably say this is the most dysfunctional organization in the last 10 years, essentially. I mean, you look at, ever since they've gone to the Super Bowl in 2015, they've made the playoffs once. After that, it's been abysmal. 5-1 seasons, 6-1 seasons. The worst one in that span was, of course, last year with Bryce Young as the rookie at 2-15. And guess what? Couldn't use that high pick for a Marvin Harrison Jr. because you traded it all to get to Bryce Young, which isn't Bryce Young's fault. It's the team. It's the owner that was hell bent on wanting him. Frank Reich wanted C.J. Stroud, and instead the owner overruled on that and said, "No, I want Bryce Young." And I think it's unrealistic. It's me a knock on Bryce Young for me saying this, but it's ridiculous to assume a 5'10", 204 quarterback. That's certainly not. I don't want to put it. Certainly not generational. He could be a great quarterback as heights, but nothing generational, nothing special about him. To think that he was just gonna carry this franchise on his back. You look at Cam Newton, how physically gifted he was, and at his height, his peaks, how dominant he was. That did not last that long, unfortunately, because of just running him into the ground, not having a good support system around him. And it's unfortunately you saw the effects of that. So if Cam Newton couldn't sustain that, Bryce Young sure as hell can't do that either. I still believe, and I tweeted this too, I still believe Bryce Young can be a productive quarterback. But if I'm him, I'm looking to go elsewhere. I think that benching, however you feel or however you want to spin it, your position on it, I think that really signals to him that they have lost confidence in him. They have lost trust in him. Kind of, if you want to say, well, they're just trying to protect him. They want to wait a little bit longer from the development, maybe sit back. I just think that it just shows it's once you especially when you're committed to a guy like this, it's the first overall pick, and you start him right away, and then you pull the plug like that. I think that just shows, it's fair or not, you've lost trust in him. And if I'm Bryce Young, again, I'm trying to do whatever it takes to get out of Carolina now, because I need to revive my career. I need to go somewhere that's gonna be right for me. That's gonna give me the right tools around me to succeed. And Carolina is definitely not that. If he sticks around in Carolina for whatever it is, another year or two, even if he makes it that long, he will be irrelevant. He will not have the opportunity to be a starter anymore, and he will look at the compensation that was given up and who they picked him over. You can make the legitimate argument with all that he could go down as one of, if not the biggest bust of all time, with Jamarcus Russell. And I also throw in Trey Lance there as well. It's another one that people don't really talk about too much with the compensation they gave up. What the Dolphins got out of that, and as well as just what he didn't do in San Francisco. Bryce Young is going to be on that level. Maybe to some people, I've started to see some people on Twitter and online that people are already making that comparison of it. I mean, even in sports shows too, that some of them are, if I have that right, some of them are making that comparison to a Jamarcus Russell of the worst busts in NFL history. And I don't want that for Bryce, because again, I do believe I think he can be a good quarterback. I'm not going to say, again, elite. I'm not saying I even have proof of guaranteeing that. I don't know. This is just my feel on it. Going back to Alabama, as college in Alabama, you can do it for everybody. But I believe that he can benefit somewhere else. I really compare this to Miami with Tua in a way. This is a place where where both coaches going on a limb. Certainly for Frank Reich, didn't want him as his quarterback, and for the current coach, I'm not sure, but it doesn't seem like this is a place that coaches are the place where they don't really want him. They don't truly believe in him. They don't want it doesn't seem like they're doing everything they can to make it work, and that's why finally when McDaniels got there with Tua, you just saw his play was much better. I feel like his confidence and everything. His career was revived essentially once he got there. With Flores, didn't want it from the start, and it just wasn't a good relationship. And it almost, not to say it was on par with Bryce Young and how bad he's playing, but it's just that to me, I do see some parallels with that. And I think he needs to go that route too, where he goes to a coach that appreciates him and wants him, and that is willing to be committed to him, regardless of if there's gonna be growing pains. And a couple I tweeted out was the Rams was certainly one. What else I had? I had the Seattle Seahawks because of just the lot of talent around them. Good, much better. I think solid offensive line. Seattle, the pieces that they have, I think is great as well. Also with Walker too. The other one, speaking about Tua, is Miami. We just and this is going a little bit of a long shot with that one. We just don't know what's going to happen with Tua, his concussions. Many people are worried, including myself. Many people think, including myself, that he should retire. We don't know how the outcome is, but if it ultimately decides where he decides to step away, Bryce Young isn't a horrible option. I mean, Mike McDaniels would be familiar with someone like that. Certainly, it's a smaller version of Tua, which might make you even more concerned because of just Tua's injury history. Now you're going to a smaller version of him, but he would be familiar how to use that. Again, he has the assets around him. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, A-Chain, Mostert. Even though Mostert wouldn't be a long-term solution, but Juno Smith, like you have pieces around there where he doesn't have to be the guy, but he can just get the ball out, just put it not put it in a harm's way, just throw make easy quick passes. I think that's something that really benefit Bryce Young. Again, Seattle having all those pieces, Lockett, DK Metcalf, and Jigba. Got a solid 3 receivers, and for the Rams, McVay. I mean, we don't know what's gonna happen with Matthew Stafford getting up there in age 2, and also too they're having a little bit of a down season with injury problems and being 0-2. But again, you have Puka Nacua, you got Cooper Kupp, you got Williams at running back. So again, like, the offensive mind is just those are destinations I think would really suit Bryce Young if he wanted to revive his career. But again, he's still relatively young. I mean, he's 20. He just turned 23, as you see on the left hand side. Again, I can't promise you, I can't guarantee you that he's going to be a phenomenal quarterback, an elite quarterback, but I still think he can be productive. And I think if he went elsewhere to a better system, a much better, well-run organization, I think he can truly benefit. One instance I can point to is Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield. When they both got there, that was kind of one of their low lives. You could argue for Sam Darnold, the Jets was his lower life or just as bad as that, but certainly for Baker Mayfield, it was bad. Getting released by the Browns and going to Carolina to prove himself, it did not work out. Once he left there, he went to the Rams for that second half of the season, played well for given the circumstance. But once he got to Tampa Bay, he played. Thus far, he's played phenomenal. You could say last year that he was a top 10 quarterback. This year, he is no doubt one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He has played phenomenal. Sam Darnold, it's a much smaller sample size. It's only 2 games, and I don't want to overreact, but he's playing much, much better. Probably the best he's ever played in his career. In those 2 instances with the Rams, or for the Vikings for the first 2 weeks. So I think those are just as small examples to show you of the purgatory, how bad it is in Carolina. Those 2 guys go there, they play bad, they go elsewhere, and they succeed when they're in much better systems. And that's the only thing I can point to Bryce Young. Maybe that's the only evidence I can show you to Bryce Young is that if he can just go somewhere else to a system like that, he can prove people wrong. I don't know if he'll ever live up to what the circumstances was for first overall pick when he first got drafted, but I think he can show people that he can still play. He can play the game. He can be a productive quarterback, and he can win you games. And he can make plays at times. The other thing I'll throw out there as well is if you're a fan, a Panthers fan, or maybe just a fan in general that just doesn't like Bryce Young and puts the blame on him. If you think this is going to end when Bryce Young leaves or he's gone, you're kidding yourself. If as soon as they draft another quarterback, if it's 2025 or 2026 with Archie Manning that a lot of teams are trying to go after, Carolina will ruin the next quarterback, whoever that may be, because they have a horrible system in place. They have a horrible run organization, and it's going to keep going. It's not going to stop with Bryce Young. Bryce Young is not the outlier, the next rookie quarterback to step in if they choose to do so, go that route. It will happen again, and there'll be the same constant with different quarterbacks. And I think it should show you already with Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, now you have Bryce Young. It's the owner. It's a horribly run organization, and I don't think all the blame should go on Bryce Young. Some of it absolutely, but most of it, the majority of it, should go on the owner for how poorly they've ruined this quarterback, his confidence, everything. I think it's been bad. It was a bad fit from the start, what they gave up, and now they've set themselves back years because of that. And unfortunately, it's going to take him a long time for them to recover. Again, for Bryce Young's sake, I hope he leaves Carolina and goes somewhere else and prove himself, because he will not do that in Carolina.